What do you do off season when you kind of self-scout, self-evaluate last? Do you go back over every game, every play? What do you do just in kind of the off season to review what you did and carry it forward?
Yeah, self scout or as off season goes forward as we utilize the cut ups. There's a number of things that obviously you go through, evaluating every game, every play. We use a good analytic system that puts together our what we call our binder, which is our binder of our self scout and everything that we want to study. We've got a pretty comprehensive and I think dialed in approach to kind of looking at that and how we can evaluate ourselves. And that's always the best part about off season for us is we get to go back and after 1 year utilize our cut ups that we've got and go back and find out exactly where things are and what we like and what kind of approach we want to take. And then the next part of off season is usually study kind of what's out there, what are the trends, what little things you could do to maybe make you better individually, maybe half unit, core unit, run game, pass game that you like. And so that's kind of the how we spend the off season. Right now, the off season was spent. We had a few coaches on our side we had to hire and stuff. So got Coach Bo here and some new analysts and student assistants. So that was the other part about it too, is retraining.
You file those cut-ups away in terms of like, all right, this worked on third and short, this worked on first down, and kind of go back, or this didn't work, and try to say, hey,
Yeah.
because we have some of the same personnel back, maybe we try
Yeah.
this and this we really like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really thorough. I mean, you could get it's ultra advanced in regards to how much you can get back, but it's how you utilize the data. So we segregate into like first down, what was effective on first down in certain personnels in certain parts of the game. We affect how with the certain parts of the game affected, how was this concept affected, how was the ball to this receiver in this concept, and then basically. Just like anything else, it's just like a major business. It's like, if that's not working, where do you find out where your hay's made, and we get 356 days to look back at what we did for a year and go, okay, we were pretty good at that, and that was smart. This is something, and I think as coaches, sometimes we get hung on things we really like, no different than any other human. You like this certain thing, but why do you like it, right? If it wasn't very good, then scrap it. Let's go back and get another rep of this. And I think that's the one thing that you evolve in coaching that you can kind of get smarter as you get older, get wiser, is do less, and get better at kind of what you're doing.
What are the kind of check marks for this first block of spring practice that you want to get done with the offense?
Well, the first block, obviously the five practices before you get spring break, and then we kind of have this break. Number one was get the new guys, staff and new guys, kind of acclimated and truly give yourself an evaluation. A lot of times what you can do, and I made the mistake early in my career, was you try to give those guys too much early, and you don't really get to see them because they're thinking so much. So we've done a good job in past years, and now moving forward to now is making sure that they can comprehend enough so we get an eval on guys early, let alone get some staff guys caught up and really work on core stuff early. We don't. The first two practices are non-padded, then you get shells. You're in 3, you get 4, and 5 they're out of here. 5 you're done, and it's only second day in pads. So and it's a back-to-back practice. So usually you kind of wind it down, but it's really core stuff early on. And really teach guys how to practice.
What have your been impressions of Millen since he got here? I mean, obviously you knew him from the recruiting process.
Yeah.
How has that advanced, though, since he got here?
It's been awesome. The biggest advancement those guys to make, a lot like Tyler, isn't maybe on the football field the first 2 days. It's what they've done since they've been here when they got here, and it's in the weight room. Their bodies are starting to change. They're getting stronger. At the end of the day, he's just getting ready. He should be getting ready for prom, right? And so you're going to see in the first practice where, I already know I'm expecting the ball to go like it did yesterday, get tailed out of there a little bit and kind of be anxious. And that's part of it. It's the same thing Tyler went through last year. And these mid-year guys, you really got to make sure that you're coaching every play. You can't jump those guys too early, and you got to kind of bear with him. He's been a little bit dinged up too. He got a little ding in his foot, so he's kind of coming along. But he'll be just fine. The things I've learned right away without having the field stuff is that he's smart. He's really smart. He's a junkie. He's in the office all the time. He takes really good notes. Football is really important to him, and I think that's what you want. Right on.
Would you guys have the guys who are going to be joining for that second block, like Pittman and what else? Like, what are they supposed to be doing now before they get here?
Right. That's the beauty of technology now is we can kind of push some stuff to those guys if they're already signed and already ready to roll. We can push some stuff, playbook stuff to them, and through iPads and technology, they can actually watch our practices. And so they're actually got an install they've got for 1 and 2 already. They can jump on. They have an access to our practice, and they can watch it. So I think that's a really cool thing that we can push to some of those guys and get them kind of going. And those guys, if you've got the right guys coming, like Pittman used example, we know as a football junkie, that kid's watching that stuff all night, which is really cool. He's texting us today, hey, what happened on this concept? You're like, man, you're not even here. You're in Calabasas right now, and that's a really cool thing. Same with Herbert and things like that. Guys are going to be here, so I think they're going to acclimate it a lot faster now. It won't be anything like jumping on the field right away, but those guys are getting as much stuff as we can give them.
What's the dynamic with you and Justin at this point? I mean, you guys have worked together for, within the scope of college football, a relatively long time. Just what's the working relationship like now?
Yeah, no, we I think each year we've taken a little bit different of approach. No different than when you start working with someone for a long time. I think that the key for us is we're really comfortable on each other, but you can't get too comfortable. It's still having I think my approach for him his senior year is to make sure, number one, I'm making this an experience the best I can for him, because you only get this shot being this age at this place one time in Power 5 football as a senior, and it's got to be fun, and it's got to be something that he can get a lot out of. And I think that's important to me, making sure that every day for him he feels like, man, I'm excited to be here. And then pushing him to an extent to where, and he's got a lot of things that he's done a really nice job with, but where's one or two things I can really find and go, hey man, this one practice, we're going to work on this. We worked on one footwork thing today that we've been doing for 2 years, and I'm like, here's something, and it goes back to what he asked earlier. On film, it was good, but it wasn't perfect, right? It was like, we're going to change this up just a little bit, and I'm going to do a better job coaching this part here. Maybe I said this a different way, and so we've done a good job. I think the thing you get naturally at that level right now with me and him is, it's almost like he'll come back with a question knowing what I'm going to ask. It's kind of like you start being able to read each other a little bit better. Hey, I know what you're going to say. I got it. And you're like, all right, you got it. Or hey, can I try this? And you're like, that's a good idea. I think just experience. You can't replace that.
Only 2 practices, but wide receivers, the guys who are returning, you see any improvement, anything that gets your attention, and then the new guys?
Yeah, the receivers done a nice job. I think Coach Bell's been an awesome addition for us. He does a really good job with the room and getting the room detailed. We moved a couple guys in different areas, losing Dylan in a position, but the experienced guys have come back with an advanced demeanor, which is what you want to see. Red and Schooler and Johnny with a lot of reps have really come back, and you can see that where maybe it was, a little bit of a lull here, no longer is there. It's full speed, and they're taking things really personal, and they're making things real deliberate. The young guys, Delgados and Brian Addison stepping in and things like that, that's where you're kind of like really watching to see how they advance, and I think that we've been excited there. Brian Addison's had a couple good days of practice. Delgado is a brand new kid, a freshman who's, again, still should also be in high school, has come in and done a really nice job. The list goes on, of guys that have, J.J. Tucker's in there right now. Crocker's got out with a little ding. Those guys have started to jump in there right away. And I think because the older guys have stepped it up, the younger guys are like, okay, here we go. And that's what you want to see. You start shrinking that gap between the most committed and the least committed, or most experienced and least experienced, and you start to get guys that start push for the top. And it's exciting to see it even after just 2 days.
You said you discard some stuff. How much do you add? How much would you want to add in a second year for you in terms of different look? You have your quarterback back. You said look back on last year, maybe stuff that didn't work goes out. Do you bring in a lot of new stuff, or do you want to just kind of take the things that worked?
You take things that work, and then you just kind of see what can you do, what can you work through. I think there's a couple different schemes that we like that I think fit us with what we're going to do, and with Justin experience and a little more experience outside, without giving it away. But yeah, there's a couple of things you add wrinkles to, or maybe maybe it was a B-list type of thing, or secondary type of thing, and it was really good. The efficiency in that wherever you looked at was really good. You're like, man, we did it 5 times. Let's do this 15 times instead of 5. That was a really good play. You ran it 10 times and there was 5 explosive plays. You're like, oh, let's ramp it up and bump this down. The other one was just something we were banging our head against. But I think that's us going through with a fine-tooth comb and trying to be better.
You guys do have a new coach on your staff, like the new wide receivers coach.
Yeah.
Do you go through and watch all his film? How do you guys get on the same page? For when you guys are coming into practice?
Well, first part's the interview. That's an extensive full-day deal where you're watching. But prior to even hiring, we watch all of Utah State stuff. We watched their game. We already watched them versus Michigan State. They played them early in the season, saw that a little bit. You call everyone it's a small circle of coaches. And then you just bring in, you just go, and you talk ball. And if you can, I think the question you're asking really is like, is there something I can yell at? Hey, this was your whatchamacallit. I don't not advanced enough to know the system, but maybe I'm like, remember what we talked about when you guys called it that? That can help, and we do that, yeah, for sure. If you can, that's really nice, But that's, I think, part of the interview is the fact you can feel like in an interview, hey, he's going to pick up. You guys translate communication well. You guys pick things up fast. You guys can communicate. Oh, he gets this, okay? And so that's kind of the flow of how you feel a guy can fit in.